Good day,
Good day,
everyone, and thank you for
everyone.
listening. So, my
To those
name
who
is
are
Aaron
watching or
Joseph C.
listening, I'm
Pobre,
Aaron
and
Joseph
today I want to
Pobre,
take
and I'd
you
like
on a
to
very,
welcome you
very
to my
personal
personal
journey, one that
reflection
goes beyond
titled
the usual academic
Discovering
reflection.
Myself with
So, this
Do Yourself,
presentation is not just a
Personal Journey to
requirement,
Growth and Peace.
but it's a
So, through
story
this
of growth,
presentation, I'll be
struggle,
sure
and awareness,
how Do Yourself
and
course
a
helped me
discovery. So, I've
examine
I've titled it "Discovering
not just
Myself
how I
with
function as a
You Self:
student,
A Personal
but
Journey
how
to
I
Growth and
am as a
Peace."
person.
So when I
So
first
you
heard
hear
about this
about
course, I
main
honestly
weaknesses
didn't
I've
expect that it would be
identified
such
in
a big
myself,
impact on me.
not to shame
I thought it would
myself,
just be
but
another subject
to use
about
this
theories,
as a
lectures,
realization, a
and
starting
concept I
point
need to
for growth.
memorize. But as the week went by, I
Good
started to
day,
realize
everyone.
that
To
this
those
class
who are
wasn't just
watching or
about
listening,
understanding the
I'm Aaron
self,
Joseph
but it was
Pobre, and I'd
understanding
like to
myself,
welcome you to
my
my
real
personal
self.
reflection
So
titled
it asked me to
Discovering
slow down
Myself with
and ask,
Do Yourself,
and ask difficult questions.
Personal Journey to
Questions
Growth and
like,
Peace. So
who
through
am
this
I outside the
presentation,
school?
I'll be sure
What are my
how Do
strengths?
Yourself
And more
course help me
importantly, my weaknesses.
examine
What values do I
not
need
just
to
how I
hold
function as
close?
a student,
What
but how
patterns
I
in
am
my
as a
thinking
person.
are helping me,
So you hear
and which
about the main
which ones
weaknesses
are
I've
holding me back?
identified in
And
myself,
I'll
not to
admit,
shame
those weren't
myself,
easy to
but
answer
to use
because,
this
like many
as a
students, I've
realization, a
always been
starting
focused on
point for growth.
outputs, getting things done, passing my
Good
exam,
day,
meeting
everyone.
expectation.
To those who
But
are
you yourself
watching or
encouraged me
listening, I'm Aaron Joseph Pobre,
to go
and I'd like
inward.
to welcome you
It
to my
asked me to
personal
reflect on what kind of
reflection
person I am
titled
becoming,
Discovering
not
Myself
just
with
kind of
Do
student I,
Yourself,
not just the kind of
Personal
student
Journey
I
to
am.
Growth and Peace.
So it made
So
me
through this
realize that
presentation, I'll
I've
be
been
sure
carrying some
how Do
habits,
Yourself course
thoughts,
help
and
me
fears that were
examine
silently shaping me the
not
way I
just
saw
how I
myself.
function as a student,
And it hadn't
but how
really
I am as a
taken the
person.
time to sit
So
with
you
them
hear about
until
the
now.
main
So this
weaknesses
course
I've
helped me
identified in
zoom in
myself,
four key
not
areas
to
of my
shame
weaknesses
myself,
in my
but
personal
to
development.
use this
So first
as a
is feeling
realization, a
distant from my
starting
inner
point for
values and
growth.
purpose, then struggle with time management,
Good day,
doubting my
everyone.
abilities,
To those who
and
are watching or
overthinking.
listening, I'm
So
Aaron
these aren't
Joseph
just
Pobre,
surface
and I'd like
level
to welcome you
issues.
to my
Each one of
personal
them connects with
reflection
deeply
titled
with
Discovering
how I
Myself
live,
with
how I
Do
study,
Yourself,
how I relate to others, and
Personal
especially
Journey to Growth
how
and
I relate
Peace.
to
So
myself.
through this presentation, I'll be
What I
sure
appreciate the most
how Do
was
Yourself
that
course
you
help
yourself
me
didn't just leave me with
examine
a list of problems
not just how
to
I
think
function
about.
as a
It
student,
offered me
but how
frameworks
I
like
am as a
spiritual,
person. So
psychological,
you hear about the
and intellectual
main
stuff,
weaknesses I've
and allowed me to
identified
explain the
in
practical
myself,
steps,
not to
beliefs,
shame
and mindset
myself, but
shifts to start
to use
changing
this
for the better.
as a realization, a starting point
So,
for growth.
in this presentation, I'll walk you through each of these
Good day,
weaknesses for
everyone.
every
To
one of
those who are
them.
watching
I'll
or
talk you
listening,
about the
I'm
goal
Aaron
I've set
Joseph
for
Pobre,
myself,
and I'd like
the
to
first step
welcome you to my personal
I took to address it,
reflection titled
and the principle
Discovering
or
Myself with
learning that
Do
that
Yourself,
guided me, and
Personal
how
Journey to Growth and Peace. So
that
through this
small step is
presentation, I'll
slowly
be sure
making a big
how
difference
Do
in
Yourself
life.
course help me
So this is not a
examine
perfect story. I'm
not
still
just how I
learning,
function as a
still
student,
stumbling, and
but
still
how
figuring it
I
out.
am as a
But
person.
I believe that
So
growth
you
starts
hear
with
about the
honesty, and
main
it's present,
weaknesses I've
and then,
identified in
and it,
myself,
and
not
if
to
this
shame
presentation can
myself, but
encourage everyone,
to use this
everyone
as a
person to
realization, a
pause,
starting point
reflect
for growth.
on their own life, then
Good day,
that for me is
everyone.
more than enough.
To those who are
Because
watching or
at the
listening,
end
I'm
of the
Aaron
day,
Joseph Pobre, and I'd
we're
like
all just
to
trying to
welcome you to
live
my
better,
personal
feel more peace,
reflection
and
titled Discovering
stay
Myself with
true
Do
to who
Yourself,
we are, even
Personal
when
Journey
life
to
gets
Growth and
messy.
Peace.
So
So
once
through this
again, thank you
presentation,
for
I'll be
being here.
sure
And with
how
that,
Do
let
Yourself
me
course
take
help
you to the
me
first part of my journey
examine
to connect with my inner
not just how I
values
function
and
as a student,
sense of
but
purpose.
how I so table of contents here's what we'll be talking about today. So first I'll go through the four weaknesses that I've reflected on. So first is feeling distant from my inner values and purpose, and then second is poor time management, then third is doubting my abilities, then fourth is overthinking. So for each one, I'll share my goals, the first steps I took, the principles I learned from the GU Self framework, and how these helped me realign with who I am to become. Then finally, we'll wrap it up with a reflection on how my journey is still going but meaningful. And then that's the conclusion. So next is uh, weakness number one, feeling distant from my inner values and purpose. So let's start with something deeper than academics, but my spiritual self. So in college, it's easy to lose sight of your values, You're thrown into deadlines, group projects, competition, pressure, and somewhere in the middle, all of you, in the middle of all that, you forget to ask, why am I still living according to my values? So I realized I was drifting. I wasn't feeling connected to the things that I've give in my life meaning. So faith, kindness, and inner peace. And that's when I identified my first weakness. I was feeling distant from my inner values and purpose. So I set this goal for myself, remain grounded, to stay connected with my beliefs, and to let those beliefs guide me through the chaos of college life. So the spiritual self reminded me that the life is more than just accomplishment. It's about fulfillment, peace, and authenticity. So one step I took was to start praying before bed again, not out of desperation or fear, but out of intention. A conscious effort to reflect, slow down, and connect with something greater than myself. This habit helped me feel centered again. It gave me clarity when my days felt confusing, and it reminded me that success without peace isn't real success. So I'm still learning to listen to my spiritual self, the one that tells me when I'm doing too much or when I need to go. But I'm listening more closely. So this is a sample of me praying before I go to bed. So I recorded this 2 weeks ago uh, when I was preparing to sleep. The next is weakness number two, poor time management. So the second weakness was something I think most of us struggle with. So time management. As a student, I found myself constantly procrastinating. I would know about the deadlines in weeks in advance and still end up rushing things the night before. Not only did that make my performance worse, but also left me feeling anxious and overwhelmed. So I set a clear goal to improve my daily routine, avoid cramming, finish assignments ahead of schedule, and work more consistently. So next one is, you introduced me to the physiological self, and one principle that stood out to me is that is the self dynamic. We're not fixed. We can learn, grow, and change, but only if we're intentional. So I made some real changes. I bought a notebook planner and started writing down weekly goals, not just for academics but even reminders for rest, meals, and self care. I scheduled specific hours for studying, and during those hours, I turned off distraction like my phone or social media. I also tried using Pomodoro technique, wherein it focused on 25-minute block with short breaks and helped me stay focused without burning out. So these simple adjustment taught me the power of structure. It realized that managing my time well wasn't wasn't about being rigid, but it was about being kind to my future self. So I still have days off, but now I bounce back quicker. I don't rely on motivation alone. I rely on system I've put into place. So this is a sample of my notebook listing down what I need to do in the span of a week, a day, or just a basic planner just to list down what I need to do. So weakness number three is doubting my abilities. So next weakness, that's personal and more often hidden, is doubting my abilities. So sometimes I'd sit in class and feel like everyone else was smarter, faster, or more prepared. And I wonder, what if I don't belong here? What if I'm just not good enough? So I made me so I made it a goal not just to aim for academic success, but to build confidence, to believe that I could handle college and life challenges even when they're tough. So one big shift was how saw failure. Before I thought failing a quiz meant I wasn't smart. Now I see it as a feedback, as a moment to adjust, not to give up. So I started listening my small academic wins, complementing a paper early, and then understanding a difficult concept, speaking up in class, and these weren't just tasks; they were signs that I was growing. So, do you introduce the idea of intellectual self and resonated with the idea of growth mindset? The intelligence can be developed through effort and resilience. Through the mindset, I started appreciating the effort behind learning. I stopped tying my worth to grades, and then instead started it to grow to growth. And then now I see challenges as opportunities, and I've learned to be proud of my persistence and to stop waiting for perfection before recognizing progress. So college will continue to be hard, but now I know that I'm capable, not because I have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn and keep trying. And also, this is a proof of my daily notes or journal that I've been using to list down my small wins or big wins or just me trying in this month or 2025. So, weakness number four is overthinking. The last weakness I've like to share is something that struggled for with me for a long time. So, I would overanalyze conversation, stress over a small decision, and replaying things in my head over and over. It was exhausting. So my goal became to trust myself more, to be in the present moment, to not question every thought. For my physiological self, I learned that overthinking is rooted in fear of making mistake, of being judged or not being in control. So what happened? So what helped me was practicing self-awareness. I realized that when I'm overthinking, I'm usually trying to predict what future or fix something in the past, both things I can't control anymore. So I took action. I started writing down my thoughts when they get too overwhelming, when journalizing helped me realize them instead of letting them spiral. So I use digital calendars to organize my tasks and break them into smaller and less intimidating pieces. I started telling myself, you don't need to figure everything out now. Just focus on what's next. So overthinking hasn't disappeared completely, but it doesn't control me anymore. Now, uh I know how to pause, breathe and refocus. So this is a sample of my calendar when I put some meetings and some things that I need to do from the past few months or weeks. Lastly is conclusion. What I learned from GUself or myself. Taking GUself was more than academic requirement. It was a chance to look inward and ask who I really am becoming. So it taught me that growth isn't about fixing everything overnight, but it's about honest with yourself. It's about listening to your struggles and responding with care. So learn that knowing yourself doesn't have to be a dramatic journey. Sometimes it's just a series of quiet realization and after one after the other. So learning how to balance, to be mindful, to be productive, to be grounded, and to be kind to myself. I'm not perfect, but now I know that weakness isn't something that to be ashamed of, but it's a direction of growth. And most importantly, I now understand that real success isn't just about achievements, it's about peace, purpose, and being around of the person that I'm becoming. The person I'm becoming. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my personal journey. Before I end, I want to take this moment to sincerely thank my professor, for guiding us through this course with so much depth, patience, and intention. So honestly, without your teaching, you yourself wouldn't be have the same impact on me. So you didn't just go through the lessons; you made them come alive. You challenge us to reflect, to be honest with ourselves, and to brave enough to comfort who we really are. You approach the teaching Your approach to teaching made this subject feel personal. It made me realize that discovering the self isn't just a class topic, it's a lifelong journey, and that's worth pursuing with openness and courage. So thank you for encouraging the growth, not just for academic success, but for the sake of becoming better human being. That made all the difference. Because of this class and because of your guidance, I walk away not just with knowledge, but with a new level of self-awareness and clarity and confidence in who I am and who I want to be. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, sir. You made a lasting impact on me, and I'll be carrying these lessons from this class far beyond this semester. Once again, thank you everyone who listened to my presentation. May we all be continue to grow with peace, purpose, and self love.